The NFL isn't a league where you get a do-over. You can lose a playoff game in baseball or basketball and recover from it later on in the series. But football is one and done in the playoffs. If you don't play your best 60 minutes of a game when it matters, the rest of the season doesn't matter. There's a couple teams I want to talk about in this video that had a great dominant regular season but weren't able to put it together in the playoffs. Of course, I want to start with the Detroit Lions. You could go 15-2 with the best offense in the league, but after a few turnovers and not being able to stop an opposing offense, your whole season gets turned upside down in a matter of minutes. The Detroit Lions shouldn't be out of the playoffs right now. They've been the best team in the NFC all year, and forget about the Super Bowl, now they won't even get a chance to win the conference. The Commanders put together a near flawless game on Saturday, while the Lions played arguably their worst game in almost 2 years. Obviously, there's still no excuses for this poor of a performance on both sides of the ball, but we should have seen this coming. A defense that had been holding on by the thread put together an outstanding Week 18 performance, fooling us all. We should have known this banged-up defense couldn't hang with an offense like the Commanders. We should have known this offense, which was prone to turnovers against good pass rushes, would fold in this game. But no one saw it coming. But then again, how could we have seen it coming if this Lions team was the best team in the NFL for the better part of 4 months? Was a complete collapse really just due for them? To recap some key points in the game, to be completely honest, if the Lions didn't call the trick play where Jameson Williams, of all people, throws a pass downfield that gets intercepted, the Lions are right back in this game. But whether or not the defense could get a stop on the Commanders in this hypothetical scenario is reason for doubt. But all it takes for a high-energy, young, smart football team to beat the juggernauts of the NFL is a few turnovers and execution on offense, which is easier said than done, but it was something that the Commanders did to perfection. Jared Goff played one of his worst games, and when this guy isn't able to get in a rhythm and he feels the need to force the ball downfield, he makes a lot of mistakes. And the Lions are going to have to work on playing from behind, something that other playoff teams like the Commanders have perfected and embraced. But with that being said, I still expect the Lions to be back in this spot next year, and with a healthy defense, better play calling, and just slightly more turnover luck going in their favor, they should be able to make another deep playoff run next year. But it was a great season for the Lions, and they'll be coming back next year for another chance at the Super Bowl that they've been waiting for all these years. The other team I want to talk about in this video was in a very different situation, but it's kind of to the same degree as the Lions, where they were great in the regular season, but none of it mattered because when it came down to one playoff game, a 60-minute period where they had to play their best football, they simply didn't. I want to talk about the Baltimore Ravens in this one. And once again, it was a story of the turnovers on why they lost to the Buffalo Bills. Now, this is slightly different because the Bills were a better regular season team than the Ravens, and I actually picked the Bills to win, but this is still very, very sad for the Ravens to lose in this fashion. Of course, one of these teams had to lose. I'll be making this video about one of these teams regardless, but the situation with the Ravens is different because the team itself wasn't super dominant in the regular season. They went 12-5, but the main player I want to talk about is Lamar Jackson. Now, quickly before we get into the rest of this, I do want to shut down the narrative that Lamar Jackson is a playoff choker. Yeah, the turnovers sucked, but you could still argue that he outplayed Josh Allen. But there is still context to that statement as well because Allen wasn't asked to do as much as he usually does in the playoffs, which is why the Bills were able to get this win in the first place. And Lamar was asked to put the cape on and do a lot, which just didn't end up working out for the Ravens, where in the regular season, when Lamar needed to make the plays, he was able to make them. Lamar Jackson was dominant in the regular season, and you absolutely did not see that dominance in this game. What you saw instead was a side out of Lamar that we did not see coming at all, especially in this game in the playoffs. I said that whichever team wins the turnover battle would win this game, and I did expect the Bills to win the turnover battle, which is why I picked them to win, but I still didn't expect Lamar Jackson to throw that early interception, which was probably one of the worst interceptions he's ever thrown, and then him just dropping the football on a play that was so routine for him, switching hands, getting through defenders, but in the rough weather and the frigid temperatures, the snow, he just wasn't able to hang on. Those plays that usually work out for Lamar weren't working out in this game. The drops by Mark Andrews, plays in the regular season that would have been made, did not happen in the playoffs. And once again, this just further drills home the point that if you're not able to do it in one playoff game, the rest of the regular season doesn't matter. And this part was obviously true to begin with, but my point is, whether you get the 1 seed or not, it doesn't matter. The 2 seed, the 3 seed, whether you win your division, it doesn't matter. If you're on the road, it matters a little bit, but to me it doesn't matter as much as people make it out to be. And that's my takeaway from these 2 games. But with the best backfield in the NFL and one of the best tight ends of our generation, they weren't able to do it when it mattered most, which was something that I absolutely did not expect out of them. That's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to prove to you guys that at the end of the day, the regular season, if you get to the playoffs, if you punch your ticket, at that point, that's everything else goes out the window. You saw that with a team like the Commanders. They weren't the best team in the NFC all year. They probably weren't even a top 2 to 3 team in the NFC the whole year. But once you punch your ticket to the playoffs, anything can happen. And for the Ravens, they punched their ticket early on in the regular season, but when it came to the big game, they weren't able to execute, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. It's a relatively simple idea I drilled home in this one, but it's a much broader and complex concept that we're going to be talking about through the whole offseason, and we're going to see what happens in the conference championship games, because if the Commanders somehow end up making the Super Bowl, this point would remain even more true, that the regular season is just not as important as some people make it out to be. But that's going to do it. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did enjoy, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.